when the fields of a class are declared as public, they may be misused by other classes. To avoid this, it's recommended to declare them as private. However, when these fields are declared as private, they become inaccessible to other classes. For instance, in the previous lecture, we encountered an error when we changed the access modifier of the name field to private. To address this issue, C# introduced the concept of properties. Hello guys, welcome to another lecture. Properties are a special type of class members that offer a flexible way to read, write, or compute the value of a private field. Alright, let's dive into the concept of properties through an example. In the previous lecture, we created a team class with a private field called name to store the name value. And here, in the main method, we created an instance of the team class. However, when we attempted to set the name, we encountered an error. This occurred because the name field is private, meaning it cannot be accessed directly from outside the team class. Therefore, in the program class, which is outside the team class, we encountered an error. To resolve this issue, it's considered a best practice to declare a property and use it to set the value of the name field. Alright, properties are declared within the class block by specifying their access level. Similar to other members of a class, a property can have any of the 6 access modifiers in C#. However, in most cases, properties are declared as public. Next, we specify the type of the property. It's important to note that the data type of the property should match the data type of the corresponding field. In this case, since we're getting and setting the name field, the type of the property should be a string. Afterward, we need to specify the name of the property. But first, let's change the name of the field. To follow the naming convention for private fields, let's change the field name to underscore followed by the camel case name. Okay, for properties, we follow the Pascal case naming convention. In this case, the name would be name with an uppercase N. You should know that in C# it's common to give fields and properties similar names, except that fields are prefixed with an underscore. This convention helps distinguish between fields and properties that hold the same or related data within a class. Okay, then let's add curly braces. To get and set the value of the name field through the name property, we use 2 special methods called accessors. Accessors come in 2 types, the getAccessor and the setAccessor. The getAccessor is responsible for retrieving data from the field. To define the getAccessor, we use the keyword get followed by curly braces, and within the braces, we return the name field. On the other hand, the setAccessor is used to assign a value to the field. To define the setAccessor, we use the keyword set followed by curly braces. The setAccessor includes a special variable called value, which represents the value being assigned to the field. Within the setAccessor, we simply assign this value to the name field. Alright, as you can see, a property consists of 2 code blocks, one for the getAccessor and another for the setAccessor. Okay, let's take a look at the main method. Now that we have the public name property, the error is resolved. It's important to know that when we read the name property, the code block for the getAccessor is executed. This provides us with the flexibility and safety of a method. For example, here, within the getAccessor block, when we return the name field, we can use the ternary conditional operator to check its value. If it is null or empty, we return unknown as a value. Otherwise, we return the actual value. Next, let's remove the assignment of the name property. Okay, let's run the application to see the result. As you can see, we get unknown as the result of the name property. Now here, when we print the value of the name property, the code block for the getAccessor is executed. In this case, the value of the name field is checked. Since the default value for string types is null, the getAccessor returns the value unknown. Alright, similarly, when we assign a value to the name property, the setAccessor code block is executed. This behavior provides us with the flexibility and safety of a method as well. As we mentioned earlier, the main reason for declaring a field with a private access modifier is to prevent misuse by other classes. For instance, in this case, the team's name should not be null or empty. However, the current implementation of the name property allows these types of values. Let's set the name property to a whitespace string and run the application. As you can see, the name property accepts whitespace as a valid value, which is not the proper name. To address this issue, we can add a validation check within the setAccessor code blocks. To achieve this, we first check if the value is null or consists of whitespace using this null or whitespace method. If it does, we display an error message on the terminal. Otherwise, the value is valid, so we assign it to the name field. By implementing this validation, no class can assign an invalid value to the name field. Let's run the application once more. As you can see, this time an error message is displayed on the terminal, and the value of the name field remains unchanged. Now, let's set the name property to a valid value and run the application again. This time, we didn't receive any error message, and the value of the name field was successfully changed. Alright, let's review what we've learned so far. Fields are variables at the class level that store data for a class. Since this data is sensitive and can be misused by other classes, it's considered a best practice to declare fields using the private access modifier. On the other hand, when it comes to assigning values to and reading values from these private fields, it's considered a best practice to use properties. In C#, a property is a class member that allows us to set data to and retrieve data from a private or limited access field. The most important point that we need to understand is that a property in C# is never used to directly store data. Instead, it just acts as a medium to transfer the data of the limited access fields. Properties are special methods known as accessors. The setAccessor allows us to assign a value to the field. Whenever we call the property to set the data, the setAccessor is executed. Then, whatever data we are supplying will come and be stored inside the variable called value by default. It provides the flexibility and safety of a method. On the other hand, the getAccessor allows us to read the value from a field. When other classes read the property, the getAccessor is executed. This approach also gives us the flexibility and safety of a method. Alright, it's worth noting that a private field that stores the data and is exposed by a public property is called a backing store or backing field. In the team class, the underscore name field is a backing field. Okay, done. In the upcoming lectures, we'll dive deeper into properties. See you soon.